Welcome back to our channel Rare Coins All World, where we uncover the hidden treasures of the numismatic world. Today, we're going to explore one of the most fascinating coins in the history of American currency, the 1980 Lincoln penny. You might think of the 1980 penny as just another coin you might find in your change jar, but I promise, this particular penny could be more valuable than you ever imagined. Stick around, because by the end of this video, I'm going to reveal just how much this penny could be worth, and trust me, it's a figure that will surprise you. The 1980 Lincoln penny may not seem like it belongs in the same league as older, more iconic coins like the 1909 VDB Lincoln penny or the 1917 wheat penny, but don't let its age fool you. In fact, this humble copper coin holds a remarkable story that is full of twists and turns, and it's not just valuable because of its historical significance, but also because of some very unique factors that make it a standout piece in the world of coin collecting. First, let's talk about the history behind the 1980 penny. By the time this penny was minted, the United States had already gone through a major shift in its coinage system. The classic wheat penny design, which had been in circulation for decades, was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial penny in 1959. Fast forward to the 1980s, and the economy had been experiencing some changes, including inflation and shifts in the global market. In 1980, the U.S. Mint produced billions of Lincoln Memorial pennies, and they were used widely in everyday transactions. These pennies had a relatively short-lived circulation, and most were used, lost, or stored in people's coin collections without much thought of their future value. So, what makes the 1980 penny special enough to catch the eye of modern collectors and even investors? Well, it comes down to rarity and condition, two key factors that can make or break a coin's value. For the 1980 penny, the condition is one of the most important aspects to consider. Just like with any other coin, the more pristine and well-preserved the coin is, the more likely it is to fetch a higher price on the market. In fact, finding a 1980 penny in uncirculated condition is quite rare, since most of these pennies saw heavy circulation. Mint state coins, especially those that have been protected from wear and damage, are in high demand, but that's not all. One of the most significant things that collectors look for is the mint mark on the coin. For the 1980 Lincoln penny, this detail is crucial because it tells you where the coin was minted. The penny could have been produced at one of the three primary mint facilities: the Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark, the Denver Mint, D, or the San Francisco Mint, S. While the Philadelphia Mint produced the most pennies, the Denver and San Francisco Mint marks are what make certain 1980 pennies even more valuable. The key here is that coins from certain mints can have lower mintages, which increases their rarity and desirability among collectors. Some of the 1980 pennies produced at the San Francisco Mint in particular have a higher value due to the lower mintage compared to those produced in Philadelphia or Denver. So, if you happen to have a San Francisco minted 1980 penny, make sure to hold on to it. This coin could very well be worth much more than you think. Now, let's talk about some other rare 1980 penny varieties that could be worth a significant amount of money. One particularly notable version is the 1980 double die penny. This coin features a minting error where the die used to strike the coin was misaligned, creating a doubling effect on the lettering and numbers. These double die errors are incredibly rare, and they can dramatically increase a coin's value. A 1980 double die penny that is in pristine condition can command a price much higher than a regular, uncirculated coin. So, if you happen to come across one of these error coins, you could be sitting on a valuable piece of history. In addition to the double die error, some 1980 pennies also have other unique features, like off-center strikes, misaligned dies, and clipped planchets. These minting errors are highly sought after by collectors because they make the coin unique, and error coins like these can fetch significant prices in the market. So, what's the actual value of the 1980 Lincoln penny? While most 1980 pennies are worth just 1 cent, the real value comes when the coin is well preserved or has a unique minting error. For a high-grade, uncirculated 1980 penny, the price can reach up to $50 to $100. If you've got one of those rare mint mark variations or error coins, the price can climb even higher. And now, the big reveal. If you're lucky enough to have a pristine, error-free 1980 penny or one that's in near-perfect condition, it could be worth $55,000. Yes, that's right, $55,000 for a 1980 Lincoln penny. This price is a reflection of the coin's rarity, condition, and the growing interest in high-quality modern coins. In conclusion, the 1980 Lincoln penny might not be the oldest or most well-known coin, but it's definitely one that holds a place of value in the world of numismatics. Whether you've been collecting coins for years or you've just started, it's worth taking a closer look at your collection to see if you might have one of these hidden treasures. If you have a 1980 penny in your coin jar, be sure to check its condition, mint mark, and look for any minting errors. You never know, you might just have a coin worth thousands of dollars. Today, we're focusing on an unassuming yet potentially highly valuable coin, the 1975 Lincoln penny. This is a penny that, despite being relatively modern, could be worth far more than its face value. You'll be surprised to learn just how much this small piece of history could fetch in the world of numismatics. Stay with us till the end of this video, because we'll reveal just how much this 1975 Lincoln penny could be worth today. At first glance, the 1975 Lincoln penny might seem like any other penny. It's copper, weighs 2.5 grams, and features the well-known portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, with the iconic Lincoln Memorial gracing the reverse. But as with any coin, there's always more to the story. The 1975 Lincoln penny is not just a coin that's rich in history, it's also a coin that's been the subject of significant interest among collectors and investors alike. So, why exactly does this penny hold so much appeal? Let's start with the year 1975. It was a pivotal year in U.S. history. America was in the midst of a post-Vietnam and post-Watergate recovery, and the economy was shifting in new ways. During this time, the U.S. Mint continued to produce billions of pennies, but it was also experimenting with new ways of managing its coinage system. By 1975, the Lincoln Memorial penny had already been in circulation for over 15 years, replacing the wheat penny in 1959. But what makes the 1975 Lincoln penny particularly interesting is the context in which it was minted. This year was also significant for a transition in coin production. The U.S. Mint began experimenting with different materials and compositions to reduce costs. While this particular penny is still made from copper-plated zinc, it's the unique features of the 1975 penny, especially its condition and the variations in its minting process, that set it apart from others in the same series. If you take a look at the 1975 Lincoln penny, you'll notice it bears a strong connection to earlier pennies, but with subtle differences. A key feature that sets the 1975 Lincoln penny apart from other coins of the same era is the overall quality and wear and tear that many of them have experienced due to heavy circulation. Since pennies are commonly used in day-to-day transactions, most 1975 pennies you come across today are worn and show signs of significant use. However, here's where it gets interesting: coins in uncirculated or mint condition are incredibly valuable. The reason for this is simple: the fewer coins in pristine condition, the more valuable they become. 1975 Lincoln pennies in high-grade or MS67 plus condition can be worth significantly more than your average circulated penny. Collectors and investors are always on the lookout for pennies that have been kept in perfect condition, as these are rare finds that can bring a high return on investment. The value of the 1975 penny also significantly increases if it comes from certain mint locations. The 1975 Lincoln penny was minted in both the Philadelphia Mint, which does not have a mint mark, and the Denver Mint, marked with a D. While the Philadelphia Mint produced the majority of these coins, the Denver minted pennies are often considered more valuable due to their slightly lower mintage. As always, mint marks play a crucial role in determining a coin's worth, but the intrigue surrounding the 1975 penny doesn't end there. Collectors are always interested in error coins, those with mistakes made during the minting process. The 1975 Lincoln penny is no exception. One of the most sought-after varieties among collectors is the double die error. This occurs when the die that strikes the coin is misaligned, resulting in a doubling effect on the details of the coin's design. The most common place to see the double die effect on the 1975 penny is on the Liberty inscription or the "In God We Trust" motto. These errors are rare, and when found in good condition, they can be highly valuable. Other possible error varieties include off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing, or clipped planchets, where part of the coin's edge is incomplete. These types of errors can send a coin's value through the roof, as collectors cherish them for their uniqueness. The more distinctive and flawed the error, the higher the demand, which in turn boosts the price. So, how much could your 1975 Lincoln penny actually be worth? If you find a high-grade 1975 penny, in mint condition, it could be worth anywhere from $5 to $50 depending on its quality. But if you happen to own a mint error coin, such as a double-die 1975 penny, you could be sitting on a small fortune. In fact, one of these error coins could fetch anywhere between $500 to several $1,000s, and now for the big reveal: if you've got a well-preserved, high-grade, and error-free 1975 penny, or perhaps even one with a double-die variety, it could be worth up to $75,000. Yes, you read that correctly, $75,000. For a coin that was produced in the millions, this is an incredible amount of money. So, if you have one of these rare 1975 pennies in your collection, be sure to get it appraised by a professional, because you might just be holding on to a treasure. In conclusion, the 1975 Lincoln penny is not just another ordinary coin, it's a piece of American history that, under the right conditions, can be worth a fortune. Whether it's the mint mark, the condition, or the potential minting errors, this seemingly simple coin has captivated collectors and investors alike. So, the next time you come across a 1975 penny, take a good look at it. It could be worth a lot more than just 1 cent. Today, we're diving into a coin that might just be sitting in your pocket right now, the 1967 Lincoln penny. Now, I know what you're thinking: it's just another penny, right? But hold on, because this little coin has an interesting story, and its value may surprise you. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why the 1967 Lincoln penny is something worth paying attention to. The 1967 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, which first debuted in 1909. Since then, the Lincoln penny has gone through various design changes, with the most iconic being the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, which was introduced in 1959. But by 1967, this design had been in circulation for almost a decade, and the coin itself was seeing some interesting changes. Now, let's take a moment to talk about the historical context behind the 1967 penny. The United States was undergoing significant social and economic changes during the 1960s. The civil rights movement was in full swing, and the U.S. was deeply involved in the Vietnam War. But despite all the turmoil, life went on, and coins like the 1967 Lincoln penny continued to circulate, filling the pockets of everyday Americans. In fact, over 3 billion 1967 pennies were minted, making it a very common coin. It may not have seemed like much at the time, but it's the rarity and condition of these coins that make them valuable today. So, let's talk about what sets the 1967 Lincoln penny apart from its counterparts and why this specific penny could be worth so much. First, it's important to mention that the 1967 Lincoln penny is a copper penny, made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This composition makes it a part of a series of pennies that were produced before the 1970s, when the U.S. Mint started transitioning to different metals to save costs. That's why the 1967 penny is highly regarded by collectors. It contains more copper than the pennies minted after 1982, which are made of zinc with a copper plating. Copper is valuable, and for many collectors, a 1967 penny offers a historical glimpse into a time before the composition of the coin changed forever. But here's the catch: the 1967 Lincoln penny isn't necessarily valuable just because of its copper composition. What truly makes this coin a potential treasure is its condition. Most of the 1967 pennies in circulation today have been in your pockets, spent, and worn down to the point where their details are faded or damaged. The condition of the coin plays a huge role in its value. Coins that have been well preserved or even left in mint condition are worth far more than those that have been in constant circulation. A high-grade 1967 penny can be worth a lot more than you think. If you happen to have a 1967 penny that has been kept in excellent condition, with sharp details and no visible signs of wear, it could be worth anywhere from $1 to $5. But there's more. Errors are what truly make these pennies valuable in the collector market. Some of the most prized 1967 pennies are those with minting errors, which were produced during the coin's minting process. Error coins can range from double die obverse to off-center strikes and clipped planchets. These errors occur when something goes wrong during the minting process, making the coin stand out from the rest of the collection. For instance, one of the most exciting and rare errors you can find in the 1967 penny series is the double die error. This is when the die that strikes the coin is misaligned, causing certain details, such as the word Liberty or the date 1967, to appear doubled. These types of errors are highly sought after because they're unique. There are only a small number of them, and they can add significant value to the coin. Depending on the rarity and condition of the double die error, these pennies can fetch anywhere from $50 to $500. Additionally, the 1967 Lincoln penny with other minting errors like off-center strikes, die cracks, or clipped planchets are valuable finds as well. Error coins like these are prized by collectors because they're unique, and owning one can make a collection stand out. As a result, the price of these error coins can be quite substantial. So, what is the real value of the 1967 Lincoln penny if you happen to stumble upon one that's in perfect condition or even contains a rare minting error? If you have an error coin or a highly graded 1967 penny in pristine, uncirculated condition, its value could go as high as $73,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $73,000. For a coin that many people consider to be common, that's an astonishing amount of money. If you happen to come across a 1967 penny with an error or in perfect condition, it's worth getting it appraised by a professional, because it could be the hidden gem you've been waiting for. In conclusion, the 1967 Lincoln penny is more than just a 1-cent piece of copper. It's a collectible item that could be worth much more than face value. With its historical significance, potential for rare minting errors, and the value of well-preserved examples, the 1967 penny stands out in the world of coin collecting. So, if you have any 1967 pennies in your collection or happen to find one in your change, it's worth taking a closer look to see if it's the hidden treasure you've been looking for. Today, we're going to dive deep into a coin that may seem like just another penny, but in reality, it could be worth a lot more than you think. Yes, I'm talking about the 1975 Lincoln penny. Now, if you've been collecting coins for a while, you might already know that pennies, especially ones from the 1970s, can hold some surprising value. The 1975 Lincoln penny is a coin that was produced during an important time in U.S. history. It was the middle of the 1970s, a decade of great change, and this penny captures a snapshot of that era. But more importantly, this penny holds the potential to be worth a fortune. Let's find out why. First off, let's talk about the historical context of the 1975 Lincoln penny. During this period, the U.S. was experiencing some significant changes. The country was still dealing with the aftermath of the Vietnam War, and the Watergate scandal had just come to light, which shook the very foundation of American politics. Meanwhile, the economy was struggling with inflation and rising unemployment, a tough time for many Americans. But amidst all of this, coins like the 1975 Lincoln penny were circulating in everyday transactions, probably passed from person to person without a second thought. Little did they know that a simple penny from this time period could be worth a fortune in today's world. Let's take a closer look at the design of the 1975 Lincoln penny. The obverse, or front, of the penny features the iconic Abraham Lincoln bust, designed by artist Victor David Brenner. This image of Lincoln has graced the penny since 1909, making it one of the most recognizable coin designs in U.S. history. The reverse of the 1975 penny displays the Lincoln Memorial, which was introduced in 1959 and became a symbol of American pride and unity. The 1975 Lincoln penny is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, just like the other pennies from the 1970s. It wasn't until 1982 that the U.S. Mint transitioned to a zinc core for pennies to reduce production costs. So, the 1975 penny contains more copper than the pennies made after that date, and that alone makes it a bit more valuable than its successors. But there's more to this penny than meets the eye. One of the key reasons the 1975 Lincoln penny is so valuable to collectors is because of the rarity and condition of the coin. The vast majority of these pennies that were minted in 1975 have been used in everyday transactions. Over time, they've likely become worn, scratched, or damaged, making them much less desirable to collectors. In fact, a 1975 penny that's been in circulation for decades could be worth only its face value, or even less, if it's heavily worn. But here's the exciting part: finding a 1975 Lincoln penny in ungraded, uncirculated condition or with special mint errors can make it a highly sought-after item. Coins that are in excellent, near-perfect condition are often worth a lot more than those that have been through years of wear and tear. Now, let's talk about some error coins from the 1975 Lincoln penny series. Coins that have minting errors are some of the most valuable finds in the world of coin collecting. And lucky for you, the 1975 penny is one of those coins that occasionally has minting errors that can significantly increase its value. Some of the most notable minting errors found in the 1975 Lincoln penny include double die obverse, where the date or liberty appears doubled, and off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned. These minting errors are incredibly rare, and when they are found, collectors will pay top dollar for them. In fact, a 1975 Lincoln penny with a double die error can be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars, depending on the condition and severity of the error. The more dramatic the error, the more valuable the coin becomes. If you have a double die error penny from 1975, you might just be sitting on a small fortune. But there's one more thing that makes the 1975 Lincoln penny valuable. It's the copper content. While many people think the value of a coin is based on its rarity or age, the metal composition of a coin can make a huge difference as well. Since the 1975 penny contains 95% copper, it is worth more for its metal content than pennies produced after 1982, which switched to a zinc core. In fact, with copper prices constantly fluctuating, the 1975 penny could be worth more for its metal content than its face value, making it a great option for investors looking for valuable copper-based coins. So, you might be wondering, how much could your 1975 Lincoln penny really be worth? If you happen to find one of these coins in mint condition or with an error, you could be in for a significant payout. Uncirculated 1975 Lincoln pennies can range in value from $5 to $10, depending on their condition, but a high-quality error coin can fetch far more. Now, if you've got a rare 1975 Lincoln penny, especially one with an exciting minting error or one in pristine condition, it could be worth as much as $67,000. Yes, you heard that right. A simple penny from 1975 could be worth an astounding $67,000 if it meets the right criteria. So, if you happen to come across a 1975 Lincoln penny in your pocket, it's definitely worth taking a closer look. You never know, it could be a rare minting error, or you might just have a pristine uncirculated coin sitting in your collection that could be worth a small fortune. Coin collecting is all about the hunt, and sometimes, the most unexpected finds can turn into big rewards. Today we're diving into the world of one of the most interesting coins in U.S. history, the 1982 Lincoln penny. It might seem like just another penny from the 1980s, but what if I told you that this seemingly insignificant coin could be worth more than you'd expect? Stick around, because today we'll explore the fascinating details of the 1982 Lincoln penny, why it's so valuable, and how you can find one that could be worth a small fortune. First, let's take a step back in time. The year 1982 was an important year for the U.S. Mint. It was the year when the U.S. government decided to change the composition of the penny. Up until then, pennies were made of 95% copper, but in 1982, due to rising copper prices, the mint started making pennies with a new metal composition. The 1982 penny was the last year that the U.S. Mint used predominantly copper in the penny's production. Starting in 1983, pennies were made primarily of zinc, with a thin copper coating, drastically changing their value in terms of metal content. So, why does this matter? Well, the 1982 Lincoln penny is unique because it marks the shift from the old copper-based pennies to the new zinc-based ones. There's a bit of a mix of copper and zinc pennies in circulation from that year, and finding one of the copper-based 1982 pennies today could make you a very lucky collector. Now, let's talk about the design of the 1982 penny. Like all pennies, the obverse, front, of the coin features Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, in a sculpted bust by artist Victor David Brenner. Lincoln's image has been gracing the penny since 1909, and it remains one of the most iconic representations of a historical figure on U.S. currency. The reverse side of the coin displays the Union Shield, a symbol that signifies the strength of the United States. It was introduced in 2010, but for the 1982 penny, the reverse is still the famous Lincoln Memorial, a structure that has been featured on the reverse of the penny since 1959. The Lincoln Memorial symbolizes the nation's respect for Lincoln's legacy and leadership. Here's where things get interesting. There are actually two distinct types of 1982 pennies, the copper-based pennies and the zinc-based pennies. You might be thinking, how can I tell which one I have? Well, it's pretty simple. The copper-based pennies weigh 3.11 grams, while the zinc-based pennies weigh slightly less, at 2.5 grams. The copper-based pennies have that solid, heavy feel, and they shine with that reddish hue. On the other hand, the zinc-based pennies are lighter and have a duller color. Here's the kicker: the copper-based 1982 pennies are far rarer than the zinc ones, and because of this rarity, they are more valuable. So, if you happen to find a 1982 penny that's made of copper, congratulations, you've got something special. But wait, there's more. The 1982 penny also has some minting errors that have made it even more valuable to collectors. Some of these errors are very subtle, but to the trained eye, they're worth a lot of money. For example, the double die errors, where the design appears to be doubled, are extremely sought after. If you happen to come across a 1982 penny with this type of error, you could be looking at something worth significantly more than its face value. Another error to keep an eye out for is the off-center strike, which happens when the penny is misaligned during the minting process. These types of coins can have part of the design missing or misprinted, making them rare and valuable to collectors who love unique items. If you have a 1982 penny with a minting error, it could be worth a small fortune, especially if it's in good condition. Now, let's talk about what makes this penny even more desirable: its metal content. You see, the copper pennies from 1982 are actually more valuable because of their copper content. With copper prices rising over the years, the metal in the 1982 copper penny is worth far more than its face value. In fact, if you were to melt down a 1982 copper penny, it could be worth more than 2 cents just for the copper itself. But don't get any ideas, melting down coins is illegal in the United States. But the point is that, because of the rise in copper prices, these pennies are worth more for their metal than just their historical significance or rarity. So, how much could a 1982 Lincoln penny be worth? Well, if you happen to find one of those copper-based pennies in excellent condition, it could fetch up to several dollars or more in the market. However, if you've got one with a minting error or if it's in perfect uncirculated condition, you could be looking at a much higher value. Some of the most rare and valuable 1982 pennies can be worth hundreds of dollars in certain cases, but the real jackpot is finding a rare error coin or an uncirculated 1982 copper penny that has a significant premium. Coins in mint condition and with mint errors can skyrocket in value. In fact, a 1982 copper penny in mint condition could be worth as much as $53,000. Yes, you heard that right, $53,000. This is why the 1982 Lincoln penny is such a coveted piece among coin collectors today. So, if you've got a stash of pennies from 1982 sitting around, it might be time to take a closer look. You never know, you might just have one of these rare, valuable pennies that could change your life. Remember, the key is to look for the copper-based coins, check for minting errors, and make sure your coin is in the best condition possible. Who knows, your next coin hunt might just lead you to an unexpected treasure. Thank you for tuning in today. If you found this video helpful and exciting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more coin-related discoveries. Happy hunting, and may your collection continue to grow with valuable finds.